Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Presents on Shudder. I am Sean,
And I'm Missy.
and this is our ongoing streaming guide for the Shudder horror movie streaming service, basically born of the necessity, so the last drive-in was extended this year so that it's every other week, one movie every other Friday from what was it? It was from like April
It's
or whatever, May through
yeah, it
to like
started
October, right?
yeah, it started in April like it always does, but usually it starts in April and we get it like April, May and into June and then it ends.
Yeah, and
But
now it's going to go through to the fall,
right.
and there's a lot of people apparently that will sub for Joe Bob and then kick off after he's done, and they're aware of that, so that's why they did this to draw out the subscription. So people are like, "What the fuck should I watch?" And we're here to tell you what to watch. So one of the
Right.
caveats of this show, it's not a review show. Everything on here, like we don't cover it if everybody involved in the episode doesn't give it a full two thumbs up. So this is the best of the best, I guess you'd say, what's on there. And we also tend to cover stuff that is perpetually on there, usually Shudder produced films.
hmm Not
So
always,
what,
but
not
mostly.
always, but yeah. But Missy, what's today's movie?
Random Acts of Violence, which came out in 2019 and was directed and written by Jay Barshell or
I think that's
Baruchel.
correct.
I'm not sure how I say his name. Um, it's it's about these comic book creators that wrote a comic called Slasher Man, and they're road tripping to a convention, I think, and they start encountering murders that mirror their horror comic. Um, I this is the third time I watched this. This was when I first when I first watched it when it first dropped on Shudder, because I mean, me and Shauna have been watching Shudder since pretty early on. So this was my third watch, but the first time I watched it, it blew me away. It's
Yeah.
brutal, it's mean, it's got teeth. I like the way it twists the slasher man comic with reality, and we get flashes of panels of the art throughout the story. Um, his performances are strong, and I mean, a lot of some of the violence is off screen, but when we get glimpses of things, it looks good. It's mean. The effects are practical, and the deaths look really cool when we do see them. I mean, I'm thinking of one thing in particular, but I mean, it plays with paranoia well. It's pretty intense, and like after you watch it, you're going to be thinking about it for a few days. So, like,
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like it's one of like we do tend to watch a lot of the Shutter produced stuff, and this was one of my favorite ones they've done.
Yeah, this is up there with Sun for me, another one we covered a couple
Yeah,
weeks ago. But I think they both came out around the same time, and I remember thinking like, damn, like they have a sweet spot for because there is a meanness to both of those movies, especially this one. But I don't feel like it crosses a lot of my lines, and I have lines pertaining to mean.
right. Yeah, it doesn't
But
cross mine either.
this this feels like a fucking video nasty, but just modern with modern production. But like it has this very transgressive kind of like, ooh, should I be watching this? That like, and it manages to pull that off, even though I had forgot, right? So I knew Jesse Williams is the lead, and people will know him from Cabin in the Woods. He's like the
Mhm.
all-American, uh, the jock archetype, right? I forget the character's name.
Right.
Um, but I forgot Jordana. I think that's how you say her name.
Brewster. Yeah,
Jordana
Jordana Brewster. She's
is
from the
in this.
faculty, is what most people listening to us would know her from.
Oh, I didn't know that. So I associate
Oh,
her
that's
with
what I
Fast and the
know.
Furious.
Oh,
She's
yeah, that too.
so she's like a star, and like when I put this on, Kirsten's like, "Is that Jordana Brewster?" I was like, "Yeah, I forgot she was fucking in this. I didn't realize she was in the faculty. I think I've only seen that once."
See, I totally forgot she was in the Fast and the Furious. I love the faculty. I mean, that's it's a monster movie that's kind of in regular rotation for me. It always has been. It's just, I knew her from that immediately.
Okay. Then
I've
that
seen
makes a
that
little bit
movie a
more
million
sense.
times.
But it manages to have people of note, and I guess Jesse Williams too. I was looking at him; he's like on Grey's Anatomy. I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So it has these kind of like regular, like high profile, mainstream actors.
Oh, and Jay Baruchel, he works with Seth Rogen on stuff. Like he was kind of a bigger one too, right?
I knew he was a comedian, right? And when I was looking at his, like This Is the End and a bunch of movies with Seth Rogen, I was like,
Yeah. He's been in some Seth Rogen movies as usually like a side character, like as a friend or something,
and he fucking directed this and he co-wrote it.
and wrote and then starred in it too.
Yeah, he co-wrote it with Jesse Shabbat, and then this is actually based on a comic that I believe
Oh,
Image put out in like 2010, and it's Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray. It's a one-shot graphic novel, and I've never read it or even seen it, but I have a feeling that it's the art is coming that we're seeing is coming straight from that
oh.
comic.
Is it called the same thing? Is it Random
Yeah,
Acts of Violence?
Random Acts of Violence. Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up. One of the things I love about the movie is I'm kind of fascinated with the whole Slasher Man comic book that is in the movie. And
yeah.
we get those panels of art. And if that's where it comes from, I absolutely want to see it. Um, and it does feel like a video nasty, even though I feel in like the mean video nasty movies, usually you're seeing more of the violence. And like, I didn't remember that we get the lead up and then we get the aftermath, but we don't necessarily see it happen. We get glimpses and we,
Really?
well, yeah, we,
See, that's so funny because I just watched it again, right, a couple nights ago, and I'm still like, it's like that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so many people swear that it is blood and
uh-huh.
guts, and it's not.
And it's not.
It's it's perfectly positioned so that the scenes give you exactly what you just said, the run up and the aftermath of the violence,
Uh-huh.
but you don't actually see it, and so your brain fills it in. My mind is doing that with this movie because I thought this there's a whole thing with like I won't say the character, but his character dies on a picnic bench. Don't we see like their head removed?
We see it, yeah, we see it after. We don't see it happen.
That's so crazy. But it is gory as fuck because like the triptych.
That's what I was going to say. Think about the triptych. Think about how far it goes and then what we see later. You don't actually see it happen.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We had a similar conversation. I always remember Children of the Corn, the original, from when I was a kid, being scary and gory and twisted. And I rewatched it last summer, and you don't see all of that gore was in my head. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen on screen, but
Yeah.
our imagination fills it in. And this does that perfectly because I didn't remember it either. And in fact, after seeing the triptych, I rewound it because I thought, wait, did I miss something? Did I fall asleep? It's just the way they time it perfectly. So you think like your brain fills in the rest. You
That's
see
interesting.
enough.
I mean, the triptych, I knew we didn't see the actual murders because of the way that it comes about, the
Mm-hmm.
way we see it when they see it, and but there's other murders in like the one I just referenced at the picnic table, where it's like straight up, boom, like video nasty, and and I Yeah, that's it's funny. And it's, Children of Corn's a great example. I remember The Hand in the Blender, right? I mean, I remember
Uh-huh.
that this is that came out in 84, so right around that time when I saw it, or whenever it was on first on cable or video, because the kid up the
Right.
street had cable. Um, and it's one thing to be a kid and so when you see something like that as a kid, of course your brain fills it in, right? But as an adult who's seen thousands of horror movies, my brain doesn't always do that. So you have to be a
Right.
fucking good filmmaker to fool me, right? And I've seen the movie three or
Right.
four times, and I don't doubt you at all. I just in my head, I'm like, no, I thought we saw that motherfucker get their head cut off. Nope. Okay.
We do not. But yeah, I think it's a great flick, and it explores the relationship between like violence and art
Yeah.
versus like, fiction versus reality. You know, that conversation that people are, oh, horror movie, you shouldn't let your kids watch horror movies because they're it's going to turn us all into devil worshippers and serial killers and whatnot. This explores that,
Yeah. And
and it does it well.
it does it well. And I think it got some criticism for I think a little bit. And this so okay, so I remember when a movie I've never seen, but I remember when Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch came out, right? And all these people were like, "No, this is about the exploit, all the manga stuff with the girls and the Catholic schoolgirl uniforms fighting, and he's commenting on it. It's like, no, he's not. He's using it. Come on, give me a fucking break. So I feel like this got some criticism like that, where is it making this criticism or opening up this discussion, or is it really capitalizing and exploiting it? And I think it's both, but I'm inclined to say like even if this movie does what it might be critiquing, I think it's aware of it and it's just leaving the audience to just get what you want. Like we wanted to make a great horror film and exactly what you said, Missy. We want you to think about it tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's more that they're trying to make the point, but I mean, they made a film out of it, so of course it's using it. But I think the point is that it makes you feel something and it makes you think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, every time I've watched it 3 times at this point, and every time I watch it, I think about it. So, I mean, if you're if you're looking for something that's gonna make you think that, is I mean, I feel like it's a pretty intense movie that like it did make me feel kind of paranoid and got under my skin a little bit, and that's what I want.
Yeah,
Make me feel something. I watch 100 zillion movies, and I mean, the ones that made me feel something are the ones I remember.
yeah, totally. I'll tell you another thing. It, I think it latches on, it makes an impression. It latches on to us. The lighting is the, it's, it's fucking outstanding. Like, I feel like some people are going to look at it and be like, I don't like this lighting because it's so, in a way, it's extreme. Now, I'm not talking it's extreme because everything's bathed in red or whatever, but like they light
It's
shit in a
dark.
way that it fucks with people's skin tones. It fucks with the ambient light, and it really everything has this like sodium street light 2 a.m. look, and it gives it part of that dingy uh like video nasty kind of quality to it, and it even like brings in a holiday in a way where that's very video nasty-esque and just man, I don't it's a very visually it's a very effective movie.
It is. Well, I mean, video nasty, and I didn't think of it so much until you said it, but I picked up on it. It also makes it look like a comic book. The
Yeah.
re like the reality. It's very focused on images, leaving us with images. It's telling a coherent story, but like he wants you to see this frame, just like a comic book.
Yep.
And if you're into horror, you're into comic books, and you want something to think about, check it out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't know if, like you said, I don't know if the comic is in print. I'm sure you can order it. Get on eBay. I get back issues and shit on eBay all the time. I remember, like I looked it up today again, and I don't know if now I've looked it up so many times since the movie came out that it just looks familiar, but I swear I remember seeing it. It's something about the font and the cover image. I feel like I remember seeing it on the stands like back, would have been
Okay.
14 years ago. And it plays with comic culture a little bit too, with like I love when they're waiting in line and like the signing, right? And like the guy comes up, he's like, oh, he's got the model he made of the fucking Slasher Man's kill studio in the semi, and
Mhm.
it's got all the little figurines or whatever. And and he's like, Slasher Man's like my life, my religion. Like, oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. It's some really good. I think the script is solid too. There's a great line near the end. I won't say who says it, but I've never seen somebody do this in a movie. There's a character that is probably going to die, and they say, I don't want the end of my life to be panic and fear. And in the situation they're in, 99.999 people would never ever reach the lucidity and the calm to speak those words, right? So I thought that was
Right.
really unique, I was like, yeah, when I heard that, like stuff like that, I'm like, it's a good script too. It's very well made.
Yeah. It's smart. It's smart. Um, and I think it's absolutely worth your time. I like it a lot,
I agree. I agree. And it's on Shudder.
which is
Hey,
the whole point.
coincidence? Nope, not at all, folks. That's why we call this show On Shudder. And for On Shudder, I'm Sean.
And I'm Missy.
A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus MV20 soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadowplay in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.